Evening, shalom, and good evening. We are around the world. It is 8 o'clock Israel time. It is 7 o'clock Denmark. No,
Yes,
Denmark
in
time.
most of Europe, yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock British time. It's 1 o'clock in USA. I hope some people will be listening from New York. And then it's 10 o'clock, 10, 11, 12. No, 11 o'clock in California. I get my time buddy because we're global. This is TMS Roundtable Global. My name is Dr. Tova Goldfein. I've been streaming here live with Rose, who's not with us anymore, but in spirit, Angel Rose, for the last 4 years. I've been on my own since the summer. And we've been streaming live, interviewing guests, talking to health professionals and doctors and therapists. And last week we had movie directors and authors and many people that have self-healed and or integrated, not just about self-healing, or integrated with their healing, whether it's the medical, whether it's with integrated healing with the mind and body, and healed chronic pain and autoimmune symptoms. So I am one blessed human being to be doing this and to be a bridge to help people. And I meet plenty of bridges. And tonight it's Lilian Sjoeberg,
Yeah, Sjoeberg,
again,
yes.
who is from Denmark. And you're also a bridge with me. So we have a lot in common, being bridges and being messengers to help people. Um, I met you, Lillian, from a Facebook page. I mean, really, I have this love-hate relationship with Facebook. I love it, but and I meet so many amazing people. I first met Gary, who we'll mention, but he told me to contact you. And when I met Lillian, what was very, let me just put something up here about you and then I'll let you speak. Hold on. I contacted Lillian, and I was very happy to find out not only were you an NLP practitioner, which is amazing work, but you were also a biologist, which to me is like the best of both worlds. Like, talk about hats. I mean, talk about body mind. And I'm, as a chiropractor, I'm also body mind, and I like that I'm a chiropractor and I have all the experience, but a biologist, now we're inside of the body. Now we're inside, and now we're discovering. And so it made me very happy to meet with you and to decide to have a broadcast together and to see the amazing work you're doing. So before we talk about that, I love to share with the listeners really what started you on this path, and where did the branches go of this tree that took you to today?
So, to be honest, it started many years ago when my husband got a cancer disease called Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we were told that he would survive. We didn't. There was a 90% chance of recovering, but that this disease hit mainly young men with a high level of education, and he was a PhD student at that time. And I was just, yeah, I don't know if the right English word is flabbergasted. I was pretty disturbed in all my science knowledge that it was not about random, it was not about genetic, but it was about how good you were to use your head. And it was just, what? It goes again everything I've learned in university and high school and so on. So I got a small thoughts that, can you think yourself into diseases? And it was just, ooh, it was so strange. But this little sprout was growing. And then later, when I decided to skip my ordinary job and become a coach and therapist, one of the teacher in that told a story about a man with sclerosis that were bound to a wheelchair and that has used one of the techniques we learned to himself go out of the wheelchair again. And here we was again. It's not possible. We've been told our whole life that if you have a chronic disease, it's like that forever, and it's matter of you getting worse or staying the same. That's, yeah, nothing else is possible. And then I got intrigued, so I said, I must try this out. I have this science education, and I've learned, you can call it a technique called modeling in NLP, where you sort of dig very deep into people's mindset and beliefs and values and so on. So I found 4 people with each different chronic diseases and helped them. I gave them 5 long sessions each, and I was a new coach and therapist. I had no idea what this will bring, but it was a little, you can call a little piece of scientific work I did there. And I knew I couldn't heal them. I was very, took the small steps. So I asked them what was the smallest symptom they want to um, have a work on, or the one that recently, for example, the guy with sclerosis, the
What do you
symptoms,
mean sclerosis? You mean multiple
yeah,
sclerosis?
it was Parkinson, multiple sclerosis, war with ran with PTSD, and a woman with something called burning mouth syndrome.
Wow.
And the man with sclerosis has just lost his ability to get out of the wheelchair and into the toilet because it was a narrow space, and needed help, and it's not easy when you are still in your own home. So I asked them the smallest things we could sort of work on, and um, I did the work. I healed my trauma and work on this capability to go into the toilet. And then he reported back that he could do it again for 24 hours. And for me, it was evidence enough that there's something going on here, because if it was
Right.
chronic and you could do nothing,
Right.
it would be worse and worse. I couldn't do that. I'm a, you can call me a stress coach. It's all everything about reducing stress in your life.
So let me make it clear. Susie, welcome. Susie comes to the show often. She's in England. She asked what sort of symptom diseases you have dealt with, and you just said that you helped a man with multiple sclerosis able to walk.
No, I said
No?
we took the small things,
Thank
that
you.
he has lost the ability to swing himself from the wheelchair
Yeah.
to the toilet
Uh-huh.
and back.
So he was
And
able to move better after you helped him with his trauma.
yeah,
To
for
that
for
to
24
24.
hours.
Okay. And then what?
And this guy hadn't got a lot of time to proceed this. He had other goals, but another guy who has Parkinson. He has got a lot more time. So here we focused on the tremor, and I could always settle the tremor. So he was still either during this long session or in the end, maybe not, maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for an hour, 2 hours, but that I could settle this
So you
tremor.
helped him regulate his nervous system?
Yeah, you could say that. I would explain it in another way,
Please do.
because when I have helped these guys with one or more symptoms, the woman with the burning um, mouth syndrome, I continue to help her out of the all symptoms. I used maybe 50 hours or something
Yeah.
like that, and she was free. So doing this work, I continue to think and think and think about that got a lot more knowledge from survivors, from studies, and then I
Mhm.
put together my theory around that. So
Right.
what is going on is
So wait a minute. You have no, Susie. Lillian has helped people with long-term relief. She's just mentioning that people would respond temporarily, but then you've mentioned the woman with the burning mouth syndrome. I guess Susie wants to. You can ask a specific question about your situation, Susie, and Lillian will answer it. Look, I'm a big believer, and Susie knows how I feel, that all chronic pain can respond to this permanently. It doesn't mean somebody's going to be dancing when they haven't been walking, but it's going to be that they're going to be able to walk better, walk more. There's also the brain has learned the pain, and you can't unlearn it overnight. This is what we learn in Brain Pain and the movie my work with neuroplasticity. Even Dr. Hanscom, who Susie knows, if he doesn't do his journaling, he'll get neuropathy in his feet. So maybe you can just address that people are not getting cured, but they are being able to regulate their nervous system, and symptoms decrease and functioning occurs. Can you maybe just address that for Susie?
I I use another way of talking about
Please.
because I have my root in biology. So it goes like this, that during a long life we have a lot of stressors. Can be from your family, being bullied in school, busy work, terrible spouses. And because we are mammals, we have the same fight, flight, and freeze instincts as them, to keep it short here in the first part of it. So it is so simple as this. If you and your body are in fight, flight, and freeze, you get symptoms, and if it's short time, it might be a raise in blood pressure or extreme low blood pressure if it freeze. But if you continue being in fight, flight, and freeze for years and maybe decades, these symptoms continue to be on a daily basis. So it's not a matter of healed or cured or not. It's a matter of, are you in your instincts or not? And when you start to turn that around, things get so much more simple. Because, for example, people with Parkinson, they can have tremor and they can have no tremor. And it can change during a day. So it's not always they have the same tremor, but they can be still and then the tremor comes. So it's an extremely good disease to learn from, because I, as a coach, can see what's going on. So I learned a lot, because after working 1 hour, he was maybe still. And then he started to have tremor. And then I could ask him, what was going on in your mind? And he said, oh, I was thinking about my work tomorrow and the pile of tasks I have here. So we all go in and out of stress many times a day, dependent on your life situation and dependent on how your previous life has been. So what I'm telling now, they think it's valid for maybe 90% of all symptoms and diseases. So it's not, you are also, you can say you are regulated when you have symptoms, but it's your body preparing you for fight, flight, and freeze. That if you get the postman come with a bill that say you should pay a lot of money, you get stressed because maybe you don't have this money. But our body and brain is living in the jungle. We're living in the dark, so your brain have no idea that you are sitting in a calm, hopefully calm corner in the world. It still thinks that you are out in the wild and are reacting on sensory input, on sounds, on shadows, on what you can taste and smell, and the temperature and
Great
all these.
explanation. And so this has become automatic, and people think they're not in control, but they are. So here's the thing. I'm sure that chronic pain is like it's automatic. I can't control it, but you're saying we can. We need to understand how deep it is in some of us and
Eh,
how habitual it is. But now we can chat a little bit like we do every week on the show on how we can continually repeat, repetition, repeat some of these methods, neuroplastic, journaling, meditation, NLP, that we can repeat, and we can train the brain. Susie, you too. Don't give up hope, honey. Don't give up hope. I mean, people can respond. And I think what I've learned in this business is that people get so upset because they're like, why not me? And it's like, I don't want people to feel like you can heal. There, it is possible. But the brain has learned this because exactly what you're saying, Lillian, and so brilliantly you're saying it. Thank you.
that I turn everything around. So I say that it's your superpowers, that fight, flight, and freeze has pushed you into a safe place, because earlier in life there had been a lot of threats, and it's too much for you, and it pull the brake and give you, depending on your situation, fight, flight, and freeze symptoms. And yeah, it's the very short. So it's your superpowers that have saved you from a terrible childhood, bullies in school, a spouse that's not good for you, a stressful job, or whatever. And the body just shut down your system because it has no idea that things are okay. It can just feel that you are stressed due to some of these past things.
Okay, so again, it's like so we know the problem, we know that we're the solution, and now how do we bridge those two things? Because Susie's a very intelligent lady, and all of our clients, as you know, Lillian, are very intelligent people, sensitive, smart people. And one doctor did say, like, let your symptoms be your superpower. Let your It's such a good term because it gives hope. So just I want to go back to, so your husband had cancer and he was sort of tagged and labeled because you're a student and you didn't know this work at the time. You were still a biologist. So was he doing some of the alternatives to heal?
No, no, no. He just follow, and he became okay again, and he is now a professor, just to prove the thought that he is a clever man. So no problem there. But it was the journey that I was in that opened my eyes to things being different,
Right.
like we think it is. Yeah.
Okay, so I took you off track. So okay, so what do you do? Because again, I was very attracted to the fact that you were working with Parkinson's and diseases. I mean, like I've met people who've had multiple sclerosis, and my own mother had it, which is, a little bit of my trauma and drama. And she had the progressive kind. It took 25 years. She died like a vegetable. But I've met women on my show, in the Israeli TMS roundtable, and this show, that have gotten out of the bed, literally, like you said, or did not get in the bed because they understood the body mind connection. They still have plaques on their brain, but they're not symptomatic. So I see multiple sclerosis and cancer, but it's funny because I've not worked with anybody with Parkinson's, and I was fascinated to see that chronic diseases is everything, nothing. We're not saying this no, this yes. It is the body living in fight or flight, protecting, whether it's a cancer cell, God forbid, or neurological degeneration, but that people can live with their symptoms, healthy, functionally, mobility. This is what you're saying. If you can talk more about why Parkinson's, why these diseases, brought you to there, and then can you talk more about how you would be helping to heal someone and what the methods you use?
Yeah, you can say that Parkinson is an ideal disease to understand these principles,
Wow.
because you have tremor, and everybody have seen a dog or a horse having tremor when they are on the leash.
Wow.
So when they are on a leash and they see a bigger dog in front and they start having a tremor, it's because they either want to run towards it and fight it or play it, or run the other direction away from it. And tremor is the body building up the tension, making you ready to fight or flight or freeze.
Wow.
And in Parkinson, there's also a symptom called freeze, where you can maybe, if you want to walk from one room to another, that you stand still in front of the door and cannot pass this opening. So, and it's we know that from animals, it's the deer in headlight that got caught in this fight, flight, and freeze, and cannot move until the danger has passed. And you have some people with Parkinson, it's not as known symptoms, but they can have be very stiff in the shoulders, in the arm, in a leg or something. But we also know that from biology, because we have opossums, you call it play possum, where it's sort of stiffen up and lay completely still, and it's sort of dry out. So if a dog's come by, it thinks that it's been dead for months maybe.
Wow.
And we have all these instincts. So Parkinson is sort of in the middle of all that, with the typical symptoms you see in fight, flight, and freeze. And it's not that people with Parkinson have all sort of these symptoms in the body, and it starts overlapping with sclerosis, overlapping with a cold shoulder, or problem with digestion, but it's still a body going into fight, flight, and freeze. But because we are not acting like the animals, we are not running away when there's a bully in school. We do not run away. We are told we must not fight. If our spouse is not nice, we do not run away. If our boss is busy, bossy, we don't fight him. So we have conditioned ourselves
Wow.
to sit still and do nothing. But inside us, our whole body is trying to fight, flight, and freeze, depending on what. And we have sort of, because we don't allow ourselves to fight and flight, then most of us are left with freeze symptoms, where one part of our body shut down.
Wow. Wow. So, how would you help the client with these symptoms, whether it be tremors, Parkinson's, or pain, or anxiety, or autoimmune symptoms? How have you been helping people get out of these conditions and live the life that they deserve?
If I make another curl, you are
Please.
mentioning autoimmune disease. What happen if your body go into fight, flight, and freeze? It's short-term survival. So every other things is shut down. Wound healing is shut down. Digestion system is shut down. Cell division, immune system, memory, most other things than blood flow to lungs and muscles are shut down. So you can even say, if people cannot get children, it's probably because you are in fight, flight, and freeze, because you shut down the reproductive
Wow.
system. So it's not me, but other people say that 90% of the current diseases and symptoms are due to these principles.
Wow.
I I haven't heard a lot more than me
No, and again, what
explaining it in the biological terms, fight, flight, and freeze, but that
they
was
say, we go into that space a lot, but then normally the body goes back to rest and digest. And it's the personality or the old trauma or the patterns that keep us
yeah,
in that fight or flight, that the body doesn't get a rest. And so we're continually being triggered on an unconscious level, because they find that disease sometimes happens after an accident and then we don't get better, or from a trauma, or like we were okay and then something triggered us. So many different reasons. We know that these people, it's an automatic living in this fight or flight, and how we try to teach to come back into the parasympathetic. So you're explaining it very well. And you're, even as a biologist, you're speaking in layman terms, which is very important for the listeners. So people are getting autoimmune symptoms from constantly being in fight or flight. And how do we break that pattern? How do we know when we're going into fight or flight? This is what we've been teaching, but tell me from your point of view, in your words, what
it's
happens next?
it's very difficult to know where you are. I mean, I can feel being interviewed. I can feel I'm not 100% calm. So we are going in and out all the time. But being so used to being stressed, we can sometimes think we are relaxed, but we are not. There are just several layers of calmness. So when I help people, I try to sort of make an interview. How is their life in general? And, in fact, there are so many things you can do, because any exercise will help, hobby work, and you mentioned yoga, meditation, qigong, and that sort of things will help. And so there's a lot of things that will help you.
Mhm.
So the problem is more, if you understand this underlying theory, you can say, is it good if I feel a little stress? Is it good for me to sit on the couch and watch Netflix? No, it's not good. You must out and move around, and depending on the stress, you can maybe run or bike. And if it's not that bad, you can go for a walk in your wood. So fill out your daily day with more and more activities that calm you down, and less of what stress you up.
And what if
That's
smoking a joint or smoking a cigarette calms me down? Like I like to say to people, well, I want you to be the marijuana. I want you to be the nicotine. I want you to be able to calm yourself down with your own chemicals.
yeah,
But, you know, what if, see, this is where they're not really getting to the cause of the stress by masking it.
yeah.
And so it's kind of a, a six of one, half a dozen of another, because I want them to feel calm and relax in order to go out and walking. So smoke a cigarette and then go out walking, or smoke a joint, but then go journal. You know, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I actually haven't been asked a lot of this. I think people with Parkinson, they have a pretty healthy lifestyle altogether. And I've heard a lot of people said that they didn't get help of cannabis or CBS oil or whatever it's called. So, so that's the one part, to sort of ensure that they start and more healthy lifestyle, or more and more calm lifestyle.
Mhm.
So that's half of it, but it can calm you down here and now. But the reason why you start getting stressed, that's where you can dig down to the root of trauma, or I call it body memories. If traumas, we say it's death and accidents and beatings in childhood and bullying. But if you let go of that and instead on board the term I call body memories. And it is big and small, positive and negative impacts on your past life. And sort of let go of the thought that they should have a certain size before you start to resolve them, and just go from there and solve the most important things. And I do something I guess not a lot of coaches do, I don't know, but I use the symptoms as a guide. So when people say they have this and this symptoms, it is the guide to the trauma instead.
Can you give us an example?
Friday, I had a Parkinson client. He had two symptoms. One symptom is this freeze, so he cannot walk. So one day he texted me and said he would be 15 minutes late, but he stood 2 meters from the computer and couldn't go to there. So it's a pretty extreme
Wow.
symptom. The other symptom is that he has trouble with his voice. And we've been working with this, so there's less freeze episodes, and his voice is getting better. But there was still something, and it was a hoarse voice. It was a fast speech. But then I sort of realized that he also had an upper lip that was a little stiff, so it was difficult for him to pronounce the words. And I thought that must be a hint. That's something we can do. And
Hmm.
because it's also a symptom, it's not a painful symptom, it's not, uh, he had never thought about it, but
Hmm.
he has had his lips like this. So we go into that and investigate what's going on here, and then um, a thought, an old body memory springs up his mind, and it was when he was 7 years old. He lost his front teeth, as
Wow.
we all did, and that should be a photo taken in the school next day. So his parents said that you are not allowed to smile tomorrow because it would be terrible,
Wow.
painful, or
Wow.
embarrassing if you do this. So he stood putting his
Right.
upper lip across
Over his teeth.
his
Over his teeth. It wasn't
teeth,
wow.
so nobody could see his
Yeah.
lack of front teeth. But it
Yeah.
just got stuck.
It's so interesting because Rose would always say if somebody had a painful shoulder, she'd be like, well, who do you want to hit? Or somebody had a neck pain, who's a pain in your neck? I mean, this is where a lot of the philosophies are about why it's hurting there, why we can't move forward walking because something is holding us back. I mean, this is an incredible philosophy for people to understand why it's in a certain area. I mean, if it can help them, because I have a woman with burning tongue syndrome and it's terrible. And, it's hard for her to understand because it did happen after a procedure, but it's months later and the tongue is still burning. So it's hard for people to, it's really, if you can get somebody very clear on, okay, this symptom, that's a very clear story. I had a client who she has tinnitus, a lovely lady. I mean, I send her blessings all the time. She got it after a dentist appointment. Her father had a tooth pulled and then died of a heart attack. And she got tinnitus after a dental appointment and she's had it for years. It's like and she understands it. She can see what happened and her health anxiety. But share with the listeners, okay, so we know it's coming from here. We know it's the trauma. But how do we jump over and into our healing knowing so much? How do we apply it and implement? I think with Susie, God bless her, she's been in this work for a long time and she's just not able to apply and implement. And you want to you want to just be the best cheerleader for your community you can, and you want to give them hope. So where do you go, Lillian, with symptoms and people that are, you know, I just read a big article about people were trying too hard to get better. And that's the problem. Oh my God, we're trying too hard. Now come, because the brain gets this message, go, 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 conflict, conflict, you
Yeah.
know? And so how do we balance out and help ourselves and understand this journey and have enormous patience and love and compassion for ourselves as we heal? How do we do that?
I think it's like thinking that you for your whole life has been conditioned to what we have been told, and now people are opening up to this other way of thinking health, that you can do so many things yourself. And then it's just to experiment, because there's probably no doctor that are um, supporting your healing. I think the local family doctor. So you are on your own, and it's to try out different modalities, try out different coach and therapist, and one day you'll find one that match you. And again, the other half is living a healthy lifestyle, and every day do something that bring your stress level down, either the thoughts vibration with meditation and qigong and so on, or this more reacting like animals do to fight, flight, and freeze,
Yeah,
to burn off the adrenaline in your
yeah,
body.
yeah. Well, it's great advice.
You can actually say that when you start understand these principles, and I think I can say that I've made a course about that, that you can ensure that your whole day fits to these principles. So, for example, if your friend come and asks, should we buy an cream, and then you can say, okay, but let's walk to the shop, or why not find a I don't know, healthy vegetable or something. So you, with every decision, include either stress reduction or physical activity.
Right.
So instead of sitting home with Netflix, that you walk to the lake or drive to the lake and sit there and just let all the nature's good thing stimulate you to
So I
that.
call it you're hanging out with your symptom. You're not fighting it. You're not ignoring it. You're not
You can
stuffing it. You're
you
sort of
can
hanging out with it.
you can even say that I use symptoms as a guide. So if you have a symptoms, it's a sign that you are stressed.
Wow.
And then you can dig into that. What's that symptom telling you? Oh, you just have your sister, a visit from your sister, and you don't like your sister, and that was why tension built up. Or you phoned a child and he is going through a divorce. Then you start understanding that your symptoms are signals, like a car with a dashboard that signals is there enough oil or gasoline, is driving too fast or too slow, or whatever, is the light on. You can consider your symptoms as signals, w- yeah, warning signals and
Messages, messages.
messages. And because we haven't learned to interpret these messages, it's 20, 40,
Yeah.
50 years of misinterpret signals, because no one is to blame, because no one have ever told us about this.
So when you work with people with chronic disease, they'll have their symptoms, but they'll be functioning better. They'll have less symptoms. I mean, I have met people whose symptoms went away completely, and some they get them but then when the symptoms come, they know exactly what it is, but they get relief. And then there are some people who are just 24/7 not getting relief. And so I still think everybody can heal from this work. And this is not about blame, this is about hope, and that's the name of one of your programs is called Hope.
Yeah, I found out that hope is the most important thing to install, because without hope we don't never start to do anything. If you have no hope that you are married, or the guy you want to marry, if you have no hope, why marry this guy? So the hope is what make us take the next step. So everything I make is called something with hope, and
Wow.
call it Hope
Yeah.
Shortcut, because shortcut is building on top of the knowledge I've
Can you
collected.
talk about so I was interested when I read about your program. It's very inexpensive, and for like $25, somebody can answer some questions. And it was interesting because we talk a lot about if we know ourselves and we know our personality and we know our characteristics, we know how we fire. I mean, like we get angry, we get sad, we know our patterns, then we can understand sometimes what treatments or what methods or what is going to work for us a little better, or also just how we let me explain it this way. You 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 need to know what your triggers are. You need to know that you may respond or react. You need to understand that you need to respond all the time, and not all the time, but then you can respond to your reaction, because you know that this is going to trigger you. I know this certain triggers. I know. So part of it is to understand your relationship. That's the word I want. Your relationship with yourself and the people in your life, the players, in order to have a healthier relationship. And we're talking about a healthy relationship with your body, and knowing your body, knowing yourself. So you have an interesting test that your clients take and that anyone can take for $25, to explain that. You explain it better. Can you share that with the listeners about this test?
It was, you can say, a teaser where I open up for this world that mind and body is not separated, and you have this fight, flight, and freeze. So I explain, we think that everybody thinks the same as we do, but they don't. So dependent on what you have been through, you life has pushed you into fight. That is maybe the guys that are more competitive or more aggressive. You have the flight types. It's a typical woman that are doing a lot of things in one time, multitasking, getting the children, buying, cooking, and so on. And to see these things explained, I think it for some people that have not taken their first step into this world of beliefs of natural health and healing, it's a sort of a wake up call. Okay, that they get it in their face. Oh, yeah, it's me. I answered. It's 48 questions. I answered these questions, and then I can see how I
Mhm.
am, and feel they relate to that. So that's sort of the first step into a world where instincts is
Mhm.
a thing.
So the test is 48 questions asking about their personality, how they react to anger, how they react to sadness. So you can determine what method of treatment will help them the most.
No,
Well,
it's more like, can I remember some of the question? Is it easy for you to fall asleep, for example? Do you always think ahead? Are you, do you like being around a lot of people? That sort of
mhm.
things. And then you get a score, and it tells you if you are a typical fight, flight, or freeze person.
But and then what methods would be helping you? You would then in the
I use the same methods
right,
regardless of
right,
what people.
right. Somebody can know who they are and how they react or respond.
Yeah, that they are, because then they can sort of go back and see the other types and get a wow, I'm this much different from other types.
Yeah. Yeah. So many people read Dr. Sarno's book and they say, well, it was written for me, or, I'm exactly like that kind of person. But if you're a perfectionist, then you do it in your own way. You're a perfectionist in your own way. And so I think your test may be another level of somebody, especially involved in healing, could just get a reality check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will put that, I will, maybe you can tell me the I will put it up on the Facebook page about the test. Again, it's only $25, and it says you can take it over and over again. And I wanted to also, I see if I can paste this here. Yeah. People ask me all the time, just off the record, about if they could see the show the next day, and people don't realize I have a YouTube channel of close to 200 shows in the last 5 years, 4.5 years. So I put up my YouTube channel, which I advertise occasionally, but I don't advertise it much on this. So I put it up there for the community. But thank you, it reminded me. But then, do you have something about your test that I can put up here in the feed?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Two
just tell me
seconds.
www. Can I put it up
Yeah,
right now?
I think it's easier. I find it. 2 seconds.
If you tell me,
Um,
I'll put it
I
up in the book,
I
and then
would I think I would also make a small ad. I have a course,
uh,
and I call it my Hope course. And
yeah.
this course is because after making that small uh, test with these four people, I thought I must investigate all this. So I actually don't know how I can go into that
You
chat.
can just no, you can just tell me. It won't. You can.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think I've got it here.
Yeah.
So this is all my courses.
Just www. I'm going to write it
Yeah,
in the feed.
it's all
www.
my courses. And
So www. And tell me what I should write.
you
So
cannot see it? No.
no, I won't see it.
Oh gosh, I haven't got anything I can put in that.
Okay, just tell me. Can you read it to
Okay.
me?
Yeah. It's I have the host chat. I just sent it to the
It
host
won't
chat.
work. It won't work because I don't know how to use it.
Okay. But
Um,
it's hopeshortcut.com. That's my web page. And then it's slash
hope
shortcut.com.
shortcut shortcut.com. See, you can see it now on here. You see, look to your right. You look to your left. You'll see it. Is that
Yeah,
it?
that's my web page, and I think that's fine. Then there's a a menu point that's called
Yeah.
courses,
Yeah. Okay.
and
Great.
people can find.
I wanted to respond to Donna, who I've known for many years. Nothing is more important than hope to a chronic pain patient. I mean, this is 100%. And Lillian's the biologist. I just know it from reading all the books by Norman Cousins that hope is chemical, and I understand it from a little bit of my career, but you're a biologist understanding the chemical nature of hope and belief and
It ca-
fear in the same way, with the chemicals that fear can cause.
It's you can say it came from a different angle because I used a technique called modeling. So for 3 years, I studied the survivors out in the world that become better from Parkinson and other diseases. I studied the the studies around this, and I have my own stories from my own client, and then I found out that hope is the turning point, because a lot of people have been told that they cannot become better or they become worse and worse. So the guys that heal implement the hope and make it stronger and stronger, and it can end up like a very strong hope, that you call it
Well,
faith,
that's
I think.
everything from positive psychology to neuroplasticity to fate to, I mean, I've had clients that have really, I couldn't help. And I felt terrible when I couldn't help them. And they were just, they knew everything. They had studied all the books, they had been to all the courses, but they were so full of fear with the pain. They knew the pain was in their brain, and they were just so full of fear. And they, it was a whole pain fear cycle. And the one thing that helped this particular guy was hypnotherapy. So even though, and he didn't have a lot of hope, he didn't have a lot of trust, he was really in his head and not in his heart, but the hypnotherapy seemed to somehow go deeper.
But what hypnotherapy can do, and what I can do, is to rip people from the instincts and down to their body again. So
Good.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
a
think
lot
NLP
of
is like a
different.
hypnotherapy. NLP is a little bit like hypnotherapy, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not. It's anything that can help you to go from the instincts and down to your body, because
Wow.
the freeze instinct, it's it exists in so many different stages, but one of the stages, it's actually preparing you for a death, because there's a tiger that has a grip in
Wow.
you, and that rips you. All freeze does it, but it rips your mind and body, not physical, but what can we call you? The mind must be in the body in order to be healed, but when you are close to dying, they separate.
So you're saying, we're saying that a lot of us are in the freeze of the fight flight
Yeah, if you
part of the
cannot
brain, and the
sense what's.
body's shutting down.
Yeah,
And so, how do we know we're in that space? Besides the symptoms, is there any way we can?
you you don't know unless you give yourself a lot of attention. And when this attention is there, you can become faster and faster to realize that you are in your instincts instead of in. Let me see. I can maybe you talk a little. I'll find a video. Maybe I can share that.
Okay, if not, you can put it on the Facebook page if you can't get it. But I do want to still talk to you.
Yeah,
So fascinating. So this is amazing. So if people can understand that they're in their instincts, then they're in their mind, not their body.
yeah,
And what do they have to do to get out of their head? Of course, they're freaking out. They're scared. They're stuck. They have to breathe.
yeah. The breathe is a very good breathing techniques is a very good thing to get you out. The
Right.
problem
Deep breathing.
with
Deep breathing.
deep breathing is that you can probably not do it for many minutes, because it is one of the few things that's both under the mind control, but it's also uh, involuntary. So
Mhm.
yeah, you breathe even if you're sleeping, and
But
even
if you're
if.
breathing deeply and you're understanding that you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I'm just now
Okay. And
pedaling.
Dr. Hanscom talks about when you're in this anxiety stress mode or when you're threat mode. Dr. Hanscom will talk about threat mode.
Yeah,
That's when you're in. So he'll tell you to hum or sing,
yeah.
move around, or
You can say anything you would do when there's not a tiger around will help you. So you, for example, will not run. You will not do a lot of. If you are free of a tiger's it's because I'm trying to find this video I want to show you that, for example, singing. No one sane person will be singing with a tiger next to them. And that's because singing is a sign that everything is okay. So we sing when we are on parties, for example, and we dance, and all these things help you to get out of fight, flight, and freeze. So
Wow.
we are hardwired
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah. I love talking to you about this. It's such a key, Lillian, to healing. If people can know themselves and know what's going on in their chemistry, and and then if it's not working, it doesn't mean to give up. It means it's your body's not ready yet. So, stay where you're at, trust the process, is what Alan Gordon will say. Dr. Clark will always say, well, try to be a butterfly on the wall of your childhood, like be compassionate and loving, and know that you're being triggered, know that you're being, uh, um, like you're being stressed, and just go with it. Don't fight it.
And
You
you can
know,
say if you can sort of lean into your symptoms
lean into
because
it.
they are natural
I
and
love it.
they are not you have had them for a long time, but it's your body's signal that you have built up stress for probably decades.
Wow. Wow. Like lean into there's a book called Reach Into Your Resistance by Dr. Alan Abbas. Like reach into your resistance. See the resistance as a message to reach into it, to don't fight it. Because we do fight ourselves, and we think, and again, sometimes you will get away from by fighting, but not with this particular, and this time it didn't work. The fight didn't work. The cheerleading didn't work. You're going to have to stay with the uncomfortable feelings. So anyway, I'll let you look for that. Take a minute and look for that. And any
Yeah.
questions in the listeners you want to ask myself or Lillian? So you're going to try to share a screen. Let's see
Yeah.
if it will work.
I'll see if you have
Okay.
the right
Let me just
let me
hold on.
see.
Let me just get this one out. Hold on.
Let me
You can ask
see
questions
if
if
we
they
can
want. So right now it's
two
nothing
seconds.
on there. There's nothing
Maybe
on the
it's
screen. And try again.
Chrome doesn't have permission to capture your screen,
Right.
so maybe you need to give me permission
Uh,
to do it.
You're testing me with my producer knowledge. We did it before, me and you, in our practice, didn't we?
Yeah.
No, it's not coming
Oh,
up.
but let's see. Let's see.
Here
So
it is.
here,
Here it
here it
is.
is. Okay.
Okay.
We have all
I'm
of
gonna I'm
us.
gonna come down. I'm gonna come down and you talk about it now.
Yeah. So you can see something is going on here. So here we know flight. We have seen it hundreds of times in animals videos. So it's an animal running away. Then it shifts and starting to attack this in order to survive. We know that's fight and flight, and that's the two things we don't do, and that's causing all the troubles. So the next one is deer in headlight. Here's a deer. It's stuck. It cannot move because it's in the freeze instinct. And there's traffic all around it. So its instincts has locked it down. It's not a decision, it's nature. So then come this freeze full, and this is a I don't know what's called. Um a, an antelope or some sort of things. And it's so close to death. And here you see a thing, it's in a minute or half a minute, it's recovering from close to death state, and it's deep breathing here. So deep breathing is a way to rip you out of fight, flight, and freeze, But if the body is not ready, if there's still danger, if you're still anxious, you automatically go into shallow breathing again. But what's interesting, and you can think about Parkinson and tremor in 2 seconds when it starts. Here's an animal being so close to death that it takes a while before it get back again. We thought it was dead, but it's not. And here we go. It's back to normal. And let's see. It's run off here in 2 seconds. And now it's off. So
Wow.
so
So
2 seconds, I'll
yeah.
find.
No, so you really showed it. It's very, very important to show. It's excellent to see that, and on some deep level, that's how we're behaving.
We are behaving exactly like this, but it's like we don't react the right way. We do not run, we do not fight. We behave and sit, and that actually conditions us to we only have freeze left.
Wow.
And that's when we are in freeze
Yeah.
instincts, there's not a lot of things in the body that's working.
Yeah.
And you have problems with cold hand and uh, constipation problems and all that, and it can be easily described by the fight, flight, and freeze.
Wow. Yeah, I
So,
really love it.
so
So
it's
what do
not
you?
like it's not like you are
Mhm.
getting healed because you will always have your symptoms. It's you're not even diseased.
Right.
You
Right.
are not diseased, and because you're not diseased, you cannot get healed. It's
Right.
like we want to cure hunger. Hunger
Right.
is a very, very important signal from our body telling us that now we need to eat something in the next few half or whole hour, or peeing that we can sense we need to go to a toilet. We have 30 minutes.
Wow.
So all these, our body are all the time signaling to us what's good, what's bad, what do we need to take care of. And because it's nobody's fault. It's the first thing people, then it's my own fault. No, it's not your own fault until the day we have teachers spreading this news to all people in
Yeah.
school.
They used to say that, we want a supermarket where there's one row of regular food and the rest of the food is health food and organic food. Like, that's the typical. And there's one row of, so that's the future. And I'm thrilled to be here with you in the present and heading for the future and being healing with you. I love NLP, and it's a beautiful method. And I love that you are working with this particular Parkinson's, but also anxiety and other diseases. And anybody can contact you. They can find you through me. They can go to your website, and I'm really happy because to talk about this. I love talking about the brain. Big on the brain pain, and it's also about the heart and the spirit. And you're a very heartfelt woman and very spirited and very enthusiastic. And I'm really happy to have met you and to live kind of not so far away from you. We're just a few countries away.
Yeah, and I've been in Israel. If I can get one comment, it's my idea, because I cannot help a lot of people. It's my idea to make, I don't know if you can call it a course or a school, to people, professionals can build on top of the knowledge they already have. So we can educate a lot of people to get the knowledge I have collected
Wow.
the last 7
Wow.
years, because everybody of professionals have got a basic of whatever
Yeah.
skill they have learned, but to learn this extra layer of the biology
Biology.
and what impact it has on our bodies, then things get so much
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful work. And maybe we could talk about that. I can teach at your school because, just like there's a book called The Biology of Hope. And that's one of Norman Cousins' book, is one of my heroes. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that. I'd love to talk about fight, flight, and freeze. I don't like to see the antelopes getting beaten, or the king of the forest. But guess what? We can be the king of the forest. We can be the lion of the king. We don't have to be the victim. We can be the king, and that's a good way to say good night. But what would you like to leave with the listeners? What would you like to leave? What kind of information would you like to share as we wound up the hour and say good night?
There's hope that it's, if you on board this more natural way of looking at the diseases, that diseases are not diseases. It's a sign of a body that's been into instincts for too many years,
Yeah,
and it's to learn the language of the body and say, oh, I've got this tremor or this stiffness. Okay, it tells me that I'm stressed. What happened the last 3 hours? Oh, it was because I talked with this woman I really don't like, or I thought about the big party I'm going to have Saturday. And then you can start digging down in more and more details what's going on here. Then you don't even have a disease. There is no cure. It's just your body talking to you, like your hunger signal and
beautiful.
other signals telling you if your trousers are too tight or whatever.
Yeah, wonderful. I love it. Well, I hope that we'll come back together and talk more, because this is an ongoing conversation. It's like a song that never ends. Thank
It
you so
is.
much, Lillian, for joining me and being so clear and concise. And I'm wishing you and your clients the best.
Thank
And
you.
thank you to all the listeners. And this will be on the YouTube tomorrow or tonight. And you can talk to Lillian through her Facebook page. And doing some great work with Gary, who's healing from Parkinson's. What a great guy. What a beautiful, he posts a lot of beautiful quotes and talk about hope. It's one hopeful character. So till
And
next week.
and thanks
We'll,
for bringing me out to the world. That's
yeah,
been a hard struggle. So
wonderful. Thank you so much for being a team player. So good night, everyone. God bless. See you next week. Bye, Lillian. Thank you. So 1 second, Lillian, it will